Hello and welcome to Unacademy. I welcome you all to this session. Before we begin, the offer related to Republic Day is going to end today. Therefore, use the code IS English to get the 60% discount plus UPSC CSE Assure program, under which 12 months is 23,499 and 18 months is 24,999. You will find the PPT to this session in this Telegram channel. So just scan this and join the Telegram channel. Now, before I begin this session, 30th January 1948 is a dark moment in Indian history. And when we talk about Gandhi and Godse, when we talk about Godse killing Gandhi itself, this is an issue which is problematic and has a lot of political agenda, and it's a value-loaded topic in that regard. Now, therefore, in that context, I don't stand here as an educator, as a teacher, but I will like to take up my primary responsibility and my primary identity as a historian. Meaning that I am not going to discuss this topic with any agenda in mind. I will use my historian's objectivity to discuss this topic in a nuanced manner. Do understand this point, that it is not the job of the historian to judge or talk about right and wrong or talk about is it justified or not justified. What I'm discussing here with you is a story. And that story has a lot of causes, a lot of nuance, and I'm going to reconstruct it in front of you. I will leave it to your judgment to understand and judge this moment. 30th of January 1948, we lost a very important personality in Indian history who gave us independence, and therefore, in the larger context of things based on basic ethics and morality, it was a very important demise and a very important loss. Now, other than that, why am I discussing this topic? What is the point of this topic? As a citizen of India, it is important that you know why did Godse kill Gandhi. But as I said, I do not have a political agenda and I do not have any form of value-loaded agendas in discussing this topic. This was a prologue which I wanted to give you because it is important that you understand that I'm trying to reconstruct this in the most comprehensive way possible, in the most nuanced way possible with my basic training as a historian, what my teachers taught me. I'm trying to push that into this concept in that regard. Now, based on that, now that you understand why am I doing this, let's talk about Gandhi, Godse, and the partition itself. Now, there are three parts to this discussion. First is that you cannot understand the death of Gandhi without understanding the context in which it happened. Second, you have to understand certain events related to the partition. Once you understand the partition and the context itself, it will give you a lot of detail about 12th January, 15th January, and 18th January 1948. And once we are done with that, we will move into what was the statement and what was the reason which Godse gave himself. Godse was given 9 hours in front of the court where he read out a 92-page handwritten statement in which he explained why did he kill Gandhi. Therefore, I'm not basing this discussion on any secondary reading of any other source. I'm not reading a secondary source. I'm using two sources here. First, the judgment itself, which came through. I have the original copy of that. And the second one is Godse's statement as said in the court itself. So this is not a reading of some other historian. As I said, as a historian, I'm using the primary source concept that I'm going to give you analysis based on the primary source itself and leave you to decide what is the eternal last question which I'm going to ask you. A very important question I'm going to ask you in the end, and I want the answer to that question in the chat box. Now, in order to understand the context, let's first talk about Gandhi. Now, Gandhi's journey in India starts from 1915. We know that before that he was in the Indian subcontinent, did his schooling, then went to South Africa. Thereafter in South Africa, he developed his Satyagraha methodology, and once he had succeeded in getting whatever he wanted in South Africa, he came back to India on 9th January 1915, Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Now from 1915 till 1934, this is a very important phase because Gandhi will first get involved in Champaran Kheda, Ahmedabad. He will prove that Satyagraha works in India. Thereafter, he will launch himself at the All India level in the form of the Rowlatt Satyagraha, 1919, which will not end well with regards to Jallianwala Bagh massacre. He will use the Punjab wrongs with the Khilafat issue to then introduce non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation will be called off after the Chauri Chaura incident. Thereafter, INC will go into disarray. Swaraj is no changer issue. And Gandhi will be out of context between 1922 and 24. And then he will come back to our story once he will be released on health grounds. And he will become the president of the INC for the first time in Belgaum. Thereafter, Gandhi will wait for the right moment to launch a movement. Simon Commission will come through. Simon Commission will create an impetus which in turn will lead to the national movement to go one step further. And then will come Irwin Declaration, Delhi Manifesto, Purna Swaraj Resolution, and then the 11-point ultimatum. Basic story of modern India, not something out of the box. In 11-point ultimatum, he says that if the British accepts it, I will not go for CDM. But thereafter, the British never wanted to accept any form of demands within the 11-point ultimatum, which in turn will lead to him to then launch the CDM. Now, CDM is a turning point for Gandhi for two very important reasons. First, he will launch this movement with a lot of vigor. However, what will happen is that within 1 year of the movement itself, the movement will start to heat up. Therefore, he will use his truce mentality or truce methodology to take a truce. That is called the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi-Irwin Pact has drawn a lot of criticism for Gandhi because of not getting commutation of the death sentence for the three martyrs, including Bhagat Singh. But that's a separate issue altogether. We can have a discussion on that someday also. But the idea is Gandhi now goes to the second roundtable conference representing INC as the sole personality. Now, the British had given too much during Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Wellington was sent. The British wanted to undercut the fact that the INC does not represent India, and therefore now starts a tussle between INC in the form of Gandhi and the British, which is called the Minorities Pact, and the tussle for separate electorates for depressed classes. This issue will get sorted via the Pune Pact in 1932. He will come back. Thereafter, 1932, CDM phase 2 will start also. At the same point of time, Pune Pact will happen in the Adarva jail. But what happens is that Gandhi now changes his orientation. Gandhi, because of what he saw in London with regards to the Minorities Pact, with regards to how depressed classes were being dealt with regards to what Dr. Ambedkar was saying, he now shifts his focus away from Sabarmati to Wardha with a new resolution, which is, I want to now go for what we call as Harijan campaign. I want to bring in the depressed classes into the fold of the what we call as nationalism, into Hindu society, and therefore now Gandhi from 1932, 34 onwards goes into Harijan campaign, and Gandhi was jailed in between. Lot of repression will happen. He will call off the movement CDM phase 2 in 1933. By 1934, he will call off the whole movement itself. So he'll suspend it first and then he will call it off by 1934. This is again basic timeline of modern India. Now, when he will call off the movement in 1934, a lot of repression had already happened. 80,000 satyagrahis were already in the jail. Wellington had been extremely heavy-handed in that regard. And now Gandhi will choose to resign from the Congress, saying, I am going to politically resign and I will go into the background. I will work at Wardha. I will work for Harijan campaign. And this is where Gandhi is going to become the target of caste Hindu organizations, in the sense that untouchability will become a very big issue for him. And this is where Gandhi will be targeted by multiple right, you want to say, or Hindu bodies which did not want the way Gandhi was integrating untouchability into the Hindu society. So therefore, Gandhi will see flack from the political side, that you gave up on the national movement itself in 1934. But in the same way, Gandhi will also get a lot of criticism from, he will be shown black flags. I will tell you, they tried to assassinate him in this moment in that regard, because they felt that Gandhi is trying to change Hindu society too much. Gandhi himself does not support social revolution. His idea was depressed class integration will in turn allow Hindu society and the Indian society to become more complete. Therefore, separate electorate issue he sorted before he took the political hiatus. Now, 1934, 30th October, he resigns from the Congress, saying, I will now concentrate on the Harijan campaign. Now, thereafter, we will see glimpses of Gandhi between 1934 and 1942 in 2 to 3 contexts. First, we will see him in the context of 1935 Government of India Act. He will criticize it. Then in the election campaigns, he will not take any part. But once the Congress ministries will be established, he will say, please show to the people what the INC can do. Thereafter, one more very important thing is going to be Gandhi Bose, where Gandhi will steer the INC away from the socialistic principles, and now Jawaharlal Nehru is going to become a very important personality once the Second World War is going to start. During the Second World War, Jawaharlal Nehru will multiple times say to Gandhi that let's start a movement. He will delay it. He believed that fascism is a bigger evil than Churchill, and therefore he will only start individual satyagraha in 1941. And in 1942, the sense of urgency will come through once the Japanese will break through into the Southeast Asian sector and will come quit India. After quit India, again, resolution comes on 8th August, 9th August, Gandhi is arrested. Now, this is where Gandhi's role in the national movement becomes secondary, because from 1942 we say that the national movement went into what is called as popular nationalism, from moderate extremist to Gandhian, from Gandhian to popular nationalism. Now nationalism became independent of a leader, and this is where Gandhi's role is going to change, because from 1940 onwards itself, but from 1942, 43, 44's period, Jinnah and the Muslim League, which had been acting since 1906, are now going to change their orientation. See, if you talk about communalism in India, we divide into two phases. Moderate communalism till 1936. 1937 onwards is called militant communalism, wherein once the, you can say, Muslim League performed really badly in the 1936 elections, it will realize that it will not get power in a unified India. So the rhetoric of Pakistan is going to become very important. However, what happens is that though the Wavell Conference broke down in 1945 over Jinnah, and Jinnah had become extremely powerful because of Lilith Ghosh's support also, a very important moment is Cabinet Mission. Cabinet Mission outrightly says to Jinnah, we cannot give you Pakistan, because what Pakistan you're asking for is too scattered. It is a moth-eaten Pakistan. It is not tenable itself. It is untenable. We cannot give you Pakistan. This is why from the first half of January, February, March itself of 1946 itself, Jinnah and the Muslim League will change their orientation fully. And this is where, when the elections of 1946 will happen under the Cabinet Mission plan, the rhetoric was extremely bad with regards to saying that if you don't vote for the Muslim League, you will not be buried in a Muslim mausoleum in that regard, and multiple other, you can say, accusations in that sense. But what will happen is that from 1945 onwards, but specifically in 46 and 47, there's a spike in the riots which happen, because the Muslim League now starts to push for Pakistan, starts to create pressure on the British government itself. So they start to now engineer multiple forms of riots, and this is where Gandhi will now change his orientation again. From teaching the peasant, the worker, to become a part of the national movement between 1915 to 1930-35, then going into Harijan campaign, then making sure that the INC does not go into the socialistic principle. Now Gandhi will change his orientation the last 2 years of the British rule and just before independence, because now he will start to travel the areas where riots were happening in a, you can say, in a large scale. So this you can see and you can note here. One, on 16th August 1946, Calcutta riots. He will go there. A very important place which is even quoted by Godse and now is in Bangladesh, is called the now Khali communal violence, where close to 50,000 Hindus will be killed in the process of violence, which was based on what we call as the rhetoric of the Muslim League and on partition. Further, there will be communal riots in Bihar, and once communal riots in Bihar will start, he will leave Noakhali and go towards Bihar itself. He will in the same point of time also travel this whole sector. He will try to say to the people, don't fall into the trap of the Muslim League, don't fall into the trap of the partition. We are trying to figure it out. But the idea is, by the time 3rd June plan comes in, the Congress had already accepted the principle of partition, and thereafter again Gandhi will be involved on the day of independence in fasting and prayer, believing that India is getting independence, but it is getting it with partition. Now, in this, what I want you to note are these two dates: 12th January, 18 January 1948. Commencement of fast on 12th January, and broke his fast on 18 January. 30th of January, he will be shot. He was in Delhi and he came from the Bihar-Calcutta sector on 9th of September. But what I wanted to establish in the first part of this discussion was, Gandhi had multiple phases in his journey in India itself. from mass nationalism to Harijan campaign to his, you can say, unwavered faith in the British, to the last 2 years where he was purely involved in managing the communalistic violence, communalism itself. And therefore, Gandhi's journey of the last 2 years, once the interim government is formed, is that he will travel India and he will try to manage the communal violence which is happening. Now, these 2 dates I want you to now remember, because I want to pivot away from this to another context in that regard, which is related to the partition itself. So I hope that you understand that Gandhi's involvement in the last 2 years of independence was in managing communal violence, and this is going to be very important for Godse, as I will show you. Now, when we talk about the partition, one thing which is the easiest thing which the British could do and did also in a very hasteful manner was to draw the lines, which is Radcliffe line was drawn, but there was also going to be division of the military, of the cultural spaces, of money. And this is where there's a very interesting 55 crores, as you would have heard somewhere or the other when you have ever tried to Google or discussed any form of discussion on Gandhi Godse will always have this 55 crores. Now, I want to give you the context on what is that 55 crores. Now, when it came to the geographical split, that is on Radcliffe. However, now there has to be a split of assets also, movable, military, monetary, cultural. For that, a partition committee is established under Lord Mountbatten, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Rajendra Prasad are the representatives of India. This is going to be done on June 12th, 1947. And from the Muslim League side, the Pakistan side, we had Liaquat Ali and A.R. Nishtar. Nishtar will later be replaced by Jinnah himself, and 10 expert commissions will be established, and they will rename this partition committee to Partition Council. So this Partition Council, which included Liaquat Ali Khan and Jinnah and Sardar Patel and Rajendra Prasad, now had 70 days. That's it. 70 days to decide how will the British Indian assets be divided. Along with the assets, the financial liabilities needed to be decided, and this is where the conflict starts to arise. Now, with regards to the geographical division, that was easy. When it came to the Partition Council's biggest issue, there were two. One is defense forces, the other one was finances. When it came to defense forces, they decided on a certain ratio, which is 2/3 will remain with India, 1/3 will go with Pakistan. With regards to movable, it was said 80-20, 80% with India, 20% with Pakistan. This is where, as per reports, we know that out of India, they therefore got 260,000 men, and mostly Hindus and Sikhs. 140,000 men were given to Pakistan. Gurkha regiment was not split up between India and Pakistan, but India and Britain. They were also in the news because of the Queen's death, and therefore this turned out to be not that difficult, in the sense that they were able to numerically divide the, you can say, the forces in two parts, and therefore this was also done in a proper manner. The Partition Council was able to decide this. I don't know if you know about the Partition Council, but a very important concept. Now comes the biggest issue, which is money. How do we divide the money between these two countries? The principle which was decided, and the partition agreement and the Partition Council decided, that Pakistan would receive 17.5% of the assets and liabilities of the British India. Meaning, whatever be the assets and liabilities of British India, 17.5% will be transferred to Pakistan. And it is believed that at this point of time, British government of India was holding close to 400 crores. This is not with Indians, this was with the British. This was the kitty which had it to now be divided. This had to be now divided amongst between Pakistan and India. Now, the Partition Council therefore allocated 75 crores to be transferred to Pakistan in two tranches. Now, do understand this point. 17.5% is the principle which is decided. 400 crore was the kitty out of which this division should have happened. Finally, the representatives of the Partition Council, and it was decided that the Pakistan Central Bank, initially it was decided that RBI is going to continue till 1948, October 1948, to deal with Pakistani government also, but that will be cut short by 1 month because of the understanding which did not develop properly between RBI and the Pakistani government. But 75 crore rupees was the amount which was decided to be transferred from India to Pakistan via the RBI. Now, pay attention to this point. Now, according to this understanding, there were two tranches which would have to be transferred. 20 crores were automatically transferred as an advance on 15th August 1947. So, what is left is 55 crores. Now, the idea was that this 55 crores will be transferred from RBI to the Pakistani government in due course. However, things will become complicated because of what Pakistan did in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, RBI till today argues that we owe something from the Pakistani government, and there's a very interesting story here that if you will see the economic survey which is going to come very soon, there's a certain, you can say, section, it's called pre-partition debt, in which India claims that close to 300 crores has to be given from Pakistan. Pakistan in its economic survey says there is pre-partition debt from India, and they claim 560 crores should be given by India to Pakistan. The simple point of the matter is RBI had to manage this. 20 crores had been transferred, 55 crores was left, and therefore the date agreed upon for 55 crores was most probably in 1947, late 1947 or 1948. But now there will be a chain of events which will happen. 55 crores is the due, and Pakistan will now illegally enter into Jammu and Kashmir, will attack the Hari Singh government, and thereafter Jammu and Kashmir will accede to India, and this episode is very well called as the Indo-Pak War of 1947. Now, Indo-Pak War, Sardar Patel is going to take a very important call. And the call was that as soon as Pakistan started to illegally occupy Kashmir, Patel said that this 55 crores will not be transferred until and unless the Kashmir issue is resolved. This was the conviction of Patel, to which Nehru also agreed at that point of time, that we have given 20 crores, but we will not give you these 55 crores until unless you do not have a certain decision. We need you to come out of the Gilgit-Baltistan sector. If you do that, we'll give you the 55 crores. Pakistan had to take a call. Pakistan initially did not say anything. However, on 22nd December 1947, when it became clear that this issue will go to the UN via Nehru, they will now say that we have a certain problem, which is that we are not getting this 55 crores from the Indian government, and therefore this is a point of dispute. So, therefore, 55 crore rupees now becomes a bone of contention. At that given point of time, also on 22nd December 1947, Patel said and Nehru reiterated, we will not give you this money. We will not give this money until unless you leave the POK sector. You are now in an illegal occupation of Indian territory as acceded through the instrument of accession. You have to leave. Therefore, then only you get this 55 crores. And this is where the problem starts. This is where Gandhi comes in. Mountbatten believed that this 55 crores should have been given. Mountbatten has his own agenda. Gandhi, who believed that tit for tat politics makes no sense, said that 55 crores should be given. Should be given. Now, in the optics of popular imagination, it is believed that the two dates which I told you, 12th January 1948, Gandhi sat on a fast unto death, but the reason which is quoted in most of the books and most of the material you will find online, it will say it was to make sure that India would transfer the 55 crores to Pakistan, because Gandhi believed that it was wrong to hold these 55 crores and therefore 55 crores should be given to Pakistan. It is also believed that on 15th of January 1948, this money will be transferred because of the pressure which was created by Gandhi, and though Nehru and Patel still did not want to give, 15th January 1948, this money will be transferred. And that is where 18th January 1948, Gandhi will stop his fast, and thereafter on 30th of January 1948, he will be shot. Now, this is the popular imagination of how a fast gets linked to the 55 crores. And it is believed that, and I'm giving you the basic understanding here, what you will be told in multiple channels is, because Godse did not like this arm twisting of the government of India, Godse shot Gandhi because Gandhi had now become a problem, and therefore this 55 crores was the last nail in the coffin, and therefore once he was sure that Gandhi is now going to arm twist the government vis-a-vis Pakistan, so he shot Gandhi. This is the standard story you will find. That is why I gave you this context. What I've told you till this point is how Gandhi is moving in the national movement in different phases, and how the Partition Council and the issue of these 55 crores become a certain point which converge together to create this historical moment in which Gandhi is on a fast and thereafter Gandhi is shot. So therefore these two things are brought in together to create a certain image. Why am I saying this? Because I have two types of evidences, and therefore as I said, I'm going to leave it to you to decide what is the purpose of the fast. But to reach that, now I need to tell you what Godse said. So when we talk about Gandhi and Godse, 12 days after Gandhi called off his fast, which was on 18th of January, on 30th January 1948 at 5:17 p.m., Nathuram Godse will walk up to Gandhi and in point blank shoot him 3 times, and Gandhi will die on the spot while saying Hera. Very well, you can say documented. Because I have the original judgment, I will reiterate this moment with a certain, you can say, more detail in how the judiciary saw this moment in that regard. Now, this brings to us a very interesting concept. Was this the first time that Godse wanted to kill Gandhi? Or was this the first time anybody wanted to kill Gandhi? Because Gandhi had a certain way of his, you can say, negotiation. He must have irritated a lot of people. Then, did people try to kill Gandhi previously? And was Godse also a part of that, you can say, list? Now, this is where it is believed that there are 7 attempts to Gandhi's life throughout his stay in India. Meaning, there were 7 times Gandhi was, or rather there were 6 attempts, and the 7th attempt was this one, which is Nathuram Godse shooting Gandhi in that regard. So now this allows me, and this in turn needs a little bit of qualification. See, whatever I'm giving you, or whatever information I'm giving you, is not out of a random website. This is quoted out of Tushar Gandhi's book, Let's Kill Gandhi. He is the author of that book and also the great grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, and he has used, based on primary sources, identified 7 attempts on Gandhi's life. Now, the first attempt, it is believed, was in Champaran itself, a very obscure event related to a person called Batak Mia Ansari. It is believed that there was, when Gandhi went to Champaran, first intervention itself, he was arm twisting the planters to give compensation. One of the planters, Irwin, is going to convince Gandhi to have dinner with him along with Rajendra Prasad, who will go, and it is believed that he is the only eyewitness account to this, but has not been properly established. It is believed that Irwin had asked his house help, Batak Mia Ansari, to poison the milk which was going to be given to Gandhi, but Batak Mia Ansari did not do that. He rather spilled the milk and therefore saved the life of Gandhi itself. So Gandhi was going to be established within 2 years of being in India itself. In that sense, this is the assassination attempt. This is not properly established with historical consensus, because it is only the family of Batak Mia Ansari which talks about it. Rajendra Prasad, who did go to Bihar after independence, did not talk about this moment. Therefore, not one of the moments which is properly established. But we believe that this is the first attempt on Gandhi's life. Thereafter, 6 attempts will be there. 5 of them will be very well established, and incidentally, out of these 6 attempts, there were 3 in which both the accused of this case, Apte and Nathuram Godse, were involved. Meaning that Gandhi and Godse is not specific to 1948. The attempts of Godse to kill Gandhi goes back to 1940s itself, even 30s itself. The idea is, even before Gandhi was shot on 30th of January 1948, on 20th January there was a bombing attempt in his Birla House prayer in which Madan Lal Pahwa was involved. He was arrested. Gandhi survived, but in the next 10 days, Gandhi will be shot. Now, the first attempt was at Pune. In this, the issue was untouchability. The issue was untouchability. As I told you, because in 1934, Gandhi now changes the orientation to Harijan campaign, talks about untouchables being integrated into the Indian society. This will create a little bit of, you can say, anger, which will come out in the first attempt in Pune, where he will survive. But what is more important to us are these two moments. These two moments are Godse's moments. In a way that here in 1944, in Panchgani, again Godse will try to kill Gandhi, but he will be stopped by the mob, and this was again on the basis of untouchability. He did not like the way he was treating the caste Hindu bodies and society, so he had a fundamental issue with Gandhi with regards to how he saw untouchability. And the third attempt is equally interesting, because this is Sevagram attempt is very, very ominous, because this is when Gandhi was going to meet Jinnah. And according to the, you can say, judgment itself, it says that Godse wanted to stop Gandhi from meeting Jinnah for any form of negotiation. So he again tried in September of 1944, but he did not succeed. So Godse had tried to kill Gandhi twice before he did it finally on 30th of January 1948. There will be two more attempts. This one we know is a bombing in New Delhi itself, and the fourth one was a train accident. It is believed that it was again orchestrated by the Hindu Mahasabha, the Pune branch in that regard. But I don't want to go into the other debate which is related to Godse, which is his RSS and Hindu Mahasabha connection. That is also a very big debate in that regard. That was Godse a part of the RSS when he shot Gandhi? He was part of the Hindu Mahasabha for sure, but was he part of the RSS or not? Because there's a concept wherein the Godse's brother says that he was part of the RSS. But and I will show you that statement. When Godse gives the statement in the court, he says that I had left in 1930 RSS itself. So there's a lot of, you can say, debate over that. That's a separate issue altogether. I want to deal with Gandhi Godse straight on. Now, once we've understood that this was not the first attempt, now comes the question, why did Godse want to kill Gandhi? Meaning, what I've established till this point is that there's a story which says that 55 crores was transferred on 15th January 1948. That in turn meant that Godse was angry that 55 crores was transferred to Pakistan on 15th January 1948. And this in turn led to Gandhi being shot by Godse. And there is a history to Gandhi and Godse, which is, there are two attempts before this, one based on untouchability issue, the other one based on communalism. Now, why did Godse kill Gandhi? I don't want to answer it randomly. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm a historian here. I'm telling you the story. My job is a storyteller. Now, I will base it on two major primary sources which are available. The one on your left is the High Court judgment given against Godse, Apte and the other personalities related to this assassination. And the second one is, as I said, 92-page handwritten statement which Godse gave as a proper speech for 9 hours in front of the court. And I will show you that there are fundamental differences between Gandhi and Godse, but Godse did not just have an issue with the 55 crores. There is much more to this story which you have to understand, and therefore we are now in the business end of this discussion, but I hope that the context and the history is clear. Now, according to the judgment, primary source out of the NMML library archives, this is the recount of what happened that day, which is on 30th January 1948, about 5 p.m. We now it's no 5:17. Mahatma Gandhi, as usual, was in his prayer platform. He was accompanied by a number of people. Out of that crowd will emerge one person who will walk up 6 to 7 paces, and at point blank he will shoot 3 bullets. This person who was caught is accused number 1, Nathuram Godse, and the last word said by Mahatma Gandhi before he died was "Hey Ram," very well established within this judgment itself. This person, Nathuram Godse, was picked up from Birla House, which is now Gandhi Smriti, and thereafter taken to a police station, and the FIR which was then lodged against him was under section 302 of the IPC, murder. This is what the, you can say, official document, this document's recounting of this moment is. Now there is no reference to Nathuram Godse saying something to Gandhi before he killed him. But as we know, Gandhi may not have known Godse, but Godse knew Gandhi very well. This was his third attempt at killing him. Now comes Godse's justification, meaning he wanted to document his justification. There were 3 judges. One judge says there's no point listening to Godse. It's a slam dunk case. He shot Gandhi, multiple eyewitnesses. But the other 2 judges, out of which one was a Britisher, because the constitution had not come into force, that is why it says the crown versus Nathuram Godse, because the constitution was still being written on only 26 January 1950, it will come through. So therefore, this is a case which is generally seen within the East Punjab jurisdiction, province of East Punjab. At Shimla, this was taken care of. Now, though the trials were done in the Red Fort. Now, in the 92-page handwritten statement, there are multiple points which Godse gives for killing Gandhi. Let me identify them for you according to the basic idea. Now, why did Godse kill Gandhi? First reason is a very simple one, which is Godse did not agree with Gandhian methodology, which is Gandhi believed that violence against an aggressor is unjust, but Godse argued that throughout history, giving reference to the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he said that armed resistance to an aggressor is not unjust, it is just. Therefore, Godse fundamentally had a problem with how Gandhi influenced the Congress and he became supreme within the Congress. This theme is going to become more and more exaggerated, where he will argue that Congress only used to only listen to Gandhi, and Gandhi's influence in Congress had become too much. And this is where he paraded his understanding. So as to quote Godse, he paraded his understanding of non-violence, but as history tells us, if you use violence against an aggressor, it is just. So therefore, the extremist mentality of Godse did not go with Gandhian methodology of Satyagraha. This is the first reason which we can identify as why Godse had a fundamental issue with Gandhi, and that automatically started to manifest itself by 1940s, and there will be other things also which he will say. The second thing which is related to the first issue which he pointed out, and this is under quotes, means that I have not written this. See, 3 dots mean that that line is in the middle. 4 dots means that was in the end and we have put a full stop. So this means 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning the line in an ending. So it means that there was a line before it and there's a line after it. So this is direct quote out of the Nathuram Godse statement given in 9 hours to the court. Now this is where he shows a lot of anger. And the anger which he has is that Gandhi literally controls the Congress. Then why can't the, you can say, mistakes, blunders, and all the violence or all the loss which happens because of Gandhian movement be not pinned on Gandhi? This is where he says that either the Congress has to surrender to his will or they have to play second fiddle to him, which is Congress somehow has to agree to Gandhi, and that is the only option which is available, or they have to be secondary to Gandhi's will in that regard. For this, he gives an example of the civil disobedience movement. He says that he was the mastermind of, or the master brain behind civil disobedience movement. The movement succeeded or failed. There were multiple disasters which happened. There were multiple political reverses which happened. And still Gandhi was still considered infallible, meaning nobody can challenge Gandhi in that regard. So this is where he says Gandhi was guilty of blunder after blunder, for which he did not take responsibility, and then took political hiatus. That is where this 1934 leaving the INC comes through. He said he created the influence over INC, and thereafter when the INC started to surrender to his will, and when the INC became secondary to the will of Gandhi itself, and the civil disobedience movement, first phase very well managed, second phase lot of reverses between 1932, 33 and 34, he was not held guilty of his blunders. This is where he says that Gandhi was given a certain position which should have been challenged, the INC did not. This is again the anger which he holds against the INC as much as Gandhi in that regard. That why did we agree with Gandhi so much? Again, this is Godse's understanding. Leave alone the ideas of Hindu Mahasabha and RSS. This is his own understanding. This is what he internalizes out of the story. Moving one step further, thereafter he says that Gandhi has a bias. This is again something which is quoted in multiple cases and multiple spaces, where he will say that when Sindh was separated from Bombay Presidency in 1935 Government of India Act, he did not protest. Where Hindus were now in front of the communal wolves of the, you can say, the Baluchistan sector, the Sindh sector in that regard, when there was communal violence and Hindus were killed in scores, he did not say anything. So he says that whenever Hindus are dying, he does not say anything, but he protests to minorities' death. Again, he will say give one more example, which is that when Gandhi was on to fast, on to death for the people, for refugees occupying a mosque in Delhi, he went on to a fast and made the refugees come out of that mosque. But when the Hindus in Pakistan were subjected to form of violence, he did not say anything and did not get any pressure on the Pakistani government. That's a separate issue altogether. Jinnah would not care what Gandhi is doing. But his idea was he only used to arm twist the Indian government, not create any form of international pressure or any form of pressure on the Pakistani government. Why is he that he's always protesting against a certain, you can say, group, but not against the other? Again, this is what he believes, not what I'm saying, what he believes. He says that Gandhi has a certain bias, which again came out in Noakhali according to him. Noakhali, it is very well established. If you will read any book, you will know there were proper, you can say, riots against Hindu zamindars in that regard. Close to 50,000 Hindus were killed in this riot. Again, based on the Muslim League politics, based on the communal violence which was there, based on communalism. It was not sponsored by the INC, it was not sponsored by Gandhi. It was a pure incident of how communism had entered into a different phase altogether. The idea is, he will again say that at Noakhali, the person who perpetuated and sanctioned this violence, Shoravardi, who used to call Shaheed Sahib, he sided with the people who did violence against the people of, quote unquote, the Hindu Mahasabha, which is the Hindus. So therefore, he argues that look at Noakhali, look at what happened in Delhi, look at what happened in Sindh. Gandhi tends to only talk about one set of the group, but does not talk about the other. Again, this is the optics of his actions. Do understand one thing, that you can do something with a certain intention, but the optics of that could be totally different. Gandhi is, and I have enough examples to give you where Gandhi has protested to Hindu violence and Muslim violence both, where Gandhi was protesting against the violence done against Hindus and violence done against Muslims. Both type of stories are there, but he is having his selective understanding, his selective story. This is Godse's perception. This is Godse speaking to you today. And therefore, this is what Godse thinks of, that he believes that Gandhi tends to only arm twist the Indian government, the what we call as independent Indian government, rather than the Pakistani government, or even before independence, he had a responsibility. And this is where the concept of the partition itself comes in. This is where Godse has a certain anger. That anger is, he says Gandhi had a responsibility. The INC had a responsibility. The Congress, which boosted of nationalism and socialism, and Gandhi, who boosted of being a person who will get us independence. Why did the Congress accept Pakistan or surrender to Jinnah's will? This is an anger not just of Godse, but of most of the people at this point of time, that the INC failed to subsume communism within it. And therefore, he says that Gandhiji's undisputed, quote unquote, dictatorship, or rather you'll say his leadership in the INC, what is this freedom we call, which is coming with partition? So he believes that Gandhi failed his duty as a leader of the INC. When you controlled the INC, when you controlled everything which was happening in the national movement, then why did you allow communalism to go forward? If you can go for Harijan campaign, why could you not stop the partition? This is a certain, you can say, anger which Godse has with Gandhi, that the partition I pin it to you because you had the power to stop the partition, but you did not. You did not. And therefore, he says that the Congress and Gandhi failed the Indians because the partition was not needed. The partition on religious lines was Jinnah's will, which we agreed to. Why did we agree to it? There are other issues related to that it was inevitable before 1936, became more or less, you can say, avoidable before 1936 and inevitable after 1936 because of Lilith Ghosh politics. But Godse does not have the hindsight 2020, which is called a historian's distance. I can go and see and look at all the events and say, okay, these are the reasons why communism happened, these are the reasons why partition happened. He is living through that period and therefore he has a certain optics. So it's all about optics. He is absorbing a certain optics out of the INC of Gandhi, which is developing his what we call as perception. Then finally, this is where all the things culminate and that 55 crores thing comes through. He says that when I learned that Gandhi was sitting on a fast unto death, for which the reason was 55 crores to be given to Pakistan from the dominion of India to dominion of Pakistan, I then got a conviction that it was evident to my mind that the force of public opinion was nothing but it was Gandhi's favorable nature towards Pakistan. Very simply, he believed that the government of India and Nehru and Patel both did not want to give this money. He argues that once Gandhi was sitting onto a fast, everybody had to suit his tune, and therefore, basically, if you look at it, this moment is a culmination of a lot of things. This is where I say, if somebody says that Godse killed Gandhi for 55 crores, that is not the right assessment. That is not a nuanced assessment. It is Godse's fundamental issue with Gandhi's approach, where Godse believes that Gandhi failed the national movement, where Godse believes that the INC failed the national movement by agreeing to Jinnah what he wanted. And further, he believed that Gandhi had a certain bias. Therefore, this 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th January 1948, that you can say fast and the release of money on 15th January 1948 of that 55 crores made sure or basically confirmed to Godse that Gandhi is favoring Pakistan. He is making the government of India agree to what he wants and therefore he needs to be eliminated. The idea was, and he gave a very interesting quote, that I wanted that finally with Gandhi out of the picture, the government of India can work for Indians and not for Pakistanis. This is his argument, that he wanted to remove Gandhi as a pressure which Nehru and Patel used to feel. Now, all of this was also documented in the court, and whatever I've said to you was then summarized in the court judgment by saying that this act on the part of Mahatma Gandhi, which is his favor or his favorable nature towards one of the dominions in that regard, was strongly felt by the accused. And therefore, the act of conspiracy was created once this inherent bias of Gandhi was perceived by the accused, by Godse. This in turn was then what we call as internalized. But when Godse gives his statement, he says a very interesting thing, that this is not a conspiracy. He was removing V.D. Savarkar, he was removing the RSS and Hindu Mahasabha from the picture. He said that this was a murder done by me. I am the only person who should be held responsible. It was my conviction to kill Gandhi. And again, he quotes the motive, and I'll quote, his motive for having committed the murder as given in the written statement was the partition of the country into Dominion of Pakistan and Dominion of India, which he held Mahatma Gandhi to blame, and the fact that Mahatma Gandhi had started on 13th January 1948, which according to him coerced the government of India to pay a sum of 55 crores to the government of Pakistan. This is called a typeset issue. The person who was typing it put it as 1940, 38 rather 48. So you see, all of the nuance which I told you has been summarized into 2 points. That Godse believed that Gandhi favored Pakistan, and Godse believed that Gandhi made us pay 55, you can say, crores to Pakistan. Now there is a certain story behind this 55 crores and the fast. Now this is where I want to bring in the other picture. What we have created is a very interesting historical coincidence. Godse tried to kill Gandhi twice over communalism. He succeeds on 30th of January 1948. Godse had a fundamental issue with his understanding. Godse believed that Congress had failed, Gandhi had failed. All culminates into this moment. But this moment, the trigger was what? That 55 crores being transferred, and the fast with Gandhi took on 12th and 15th and 13th and 14th of January 1948. Now this is where the Gandhi Research Foundation argues that there is a alleged misunderstanding. What Godse did may not have just been the 55 crores, which is a question I want you to answer also. But according to the Gandhi Research Foundation, it is believed that Gandhi was in Calcutta. He came to Delhi. From Calcutta, he went to Punjab. From there, he came to Delhi. When Patel told Gandhi about the explosive situation of communal violence which was happening in Delhi itself, this is where Gandhi was on fast not to create pressure on the government of India to release this 55 crores, but to coerce the people to stop doing violence. So therefore, what the Gandhi Research Foundation argues is that Gandhi was not sitting on too fast onto debt to create pressure, for which he later got shot. The idea was he was just trying to make the people stop doing communal violence. Now they give the following evidences to say that there was no moral pressure which Gandhi was applying on the government of India. He says that the first person account, when Gandhi said that he is going to go for a fast, Gandhi did not talk about the concept of the 55 crores. He talked about the madness in Delhi. Even in the movement when 55 crores was being talked about, Gandhi did not actually say anything about it. Gandhi's own announcement on 12th January 1948 did not mention 55 crores. There is no reference on 13 January to this. Gandhi's reply on 15 January on why he was sitting on to the fast again did not mention 55 crores. The press release of the government of India did not say anything like this. And further, the list of assurances which were given by a committee headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad to persuade Gandhi to stop again did not include 55 crores. So according to the Gandhi Research Foundation, very well researched in that regard, they argued that this fast was not about 55 crores. It was not about 55 crores, it was about Delhi violence and Delhi riots. And therefore, they tried to undercut this argument that Godse may have misunderstood this fast in order to kill Gandhi on 30th of January. Now, let's try to weave this story properly, and let me as a historian push in the following facts in front of you. There is ideological incongruence between Gandhi and Godse. We know that. Godse believes that violence is just, Gandhi believes non-violence is needed. Godse has a certain problem with how INC was controlled by Gandhi, and Gandhi was never held responsible for all the failures, be it Rowlatt Satyagraha, be it non-cooperation, be it CDM, specifically CDM, where after which he takes a political hiatus. Then Gandhi is also accused by Godse by saying that you did not take any responsibility for the blunders, and then he talks about the alleged biases which Gandhi had, wherein he always used to speak against violence against minorities, but not violence against Hindus. He had a certain issue with Gandhi over untouchability also, which is already documented. And there are two assassination attempts, one on untouchability and the other one on Gandhi Jinnah, also documented. So therefore, these two attempts shows that Godse did this in impulsiveness. It was not an impulsive decision, a very important point. It is not an impulsive decision. And therefore, the 55 crores, be it Gandhi's pressure or Government of India automatically releasing it, was the last nail in the coffin for Godse. Therefore, if somebody asks you, why did Godse kill Gandhi? It is ideological incongruence, it is Gandhi's control over Congress and the Congress failure to stop communism and partition. It is Godse's alleged bias which Gandhi used to have against Hindus and pro-minorities, not just Muslims but all minorities. Godse had a fundamental issue with Gandhi which was manifesting itself from 1944 itself. And the 55 crores is the last straw which Godse sees as a moment in which he believes that the government of India needs to be, you can say, the burden which Gandhi pushes on the government of India needs to be removed so that government of India can follow an independent policy other than Gandhi. Gandhi had already controlled the INC. Therefore, there was no need for Gandhi to now control the government of India also, an independent sovereign country. Now, I have given you this evidence out of the judgment, out of Gandhi, out of Godse's statement, and Gandhi Research Foundation says that this is a mischaracterized movement. Now, what I want to ask you is, even if the fast was not for 55 crores, would Godse have still shot Gandhi? I want the answer to this question in the comment section. I want your opinion. My job was to reiterate all the facts. I told you the context. I told you Gandhi's journey. I told you his assassination history. I told you the 55 crores context. I told you what Godse said in the court itself and what his allegations were. I do not prescribe to them. It is not my job to prescribe to them as a historian. My job was to tell you the story. Now I leave it to you, and I really encourage you to give your opinion about the fact about this question. Would Godse have still killed Gandhi irrespective of this 55 crores? Maybe not on 30th of January 1948, maybe later down the line. One answer is already that he tried twice. But what happened in January of 1948? Was it this 55 crores which was the last straw, or there was a larger concept? There is one part of the story which is again controversial and has a lot of history behind it, which I may deal separately, which is Godse's affiliations, because that part of the story is contested by multiple sources, by multiple secondary sources, by multiple. Godse himself said that it is not a conspiracy, but it was never accepted in that regard, and the distancing of the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha from Godse and whatever happened thereafter, that's a separate issue altogether. So on this note, I hope that you have a better, nuanced, and a little bit of a, you can say, historical perspective on why Godse killed Gandhi. And more than that, it is not a simple answer. It is not a simple, straightforward answer. It's not that Gandhi had a bias towards the government of Pakistan. It is not that Gandhi had a certain bias towards minorities. It is about the optics and the perception of one person about a, you can say, a very important personality, the father of the nation in that regard, and that transpires into this movement which in turn leads to the death of Gandhi in that regard. So therefore, I hope that you like this session. I hope that you like the nuance of this session. If you do, tell me about it in the comment section. That would encourage me to do these controversial topics even more. I hope that I've done justice to this topic also. Thank you, take care, and bye-bye.